Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Look Forward. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host, Brad.
I had grand plans for the show tonight. I thought we were going to be able to tease out the game theory, the five-dimensional chess that the Democrats could play in the wake of, do you support McCarthy? Do you kick him out? If you kick him out, who do you support on the Republican side? Do you wheel and deal in the background? And then Democratic leadership was just like, nah, fuck all that. Yeah. Like not only are we not going to throw you a life preserver, we're going to tie a fucking cinder block to your leg.
And it's called 200 of us.
Right.
So, we're back. I got to tell you, look, I am not, Brad, I think I can speak for Brad and I, we're not religious people, but we do believe in the political podcasting gods. And they often like to sprinkle in the news the day after we record, 2 days after
smiting us for so long. They have now seen fit to be benevolent gods and gift us one of the funniest weeks in political history that I can recall. Just capped off by one of the funniest things to ever happen in the history of the House of Representatives.
Right. To happen this afternoon, right before we record. So Here you go. So let's get right into it. We got plenty to talk about this week, but obviously right off the top, Brad, you put this on the docket. I'll read what you wrote. LOL. And there's several other O's and L's there. Kevin McCarthy ousted from the House of Representatives as a speaker, which was led by Matt Gaetz.
Yeah.
A lion of the House.
As Aaron Ryan said on Hysteria, which I thought was very funny, and I know Andy will hear this and laugh. Kevin McCarthy, truly the Bakersfield of Republican speakers.
Oh, that ain't right. Look, it's this one's a good one, right? This is, like you said, this would have been fun to sort of hash out game theory as to what's going to happen, what are the Democrats going to do, what Republicans are going to do. Is some of the Republicans going to try to come in, break the glass noise, Stone Cold Steve Austin at the end type of save shit. Nah, none of that happened. Unfortunately, the best game theory was Occam's razor, which is Democrats should not try to save Kevin McCarthy for any reason whatsoever. Vote in masse to screw Kevin McCarthy, and 5 Republicans will join you. 5, MAGA idiots will join you. And
8.
Was it 8? But they only needed 5. They only needed 5. They only needed.
Well, 5. they got more than they needed. Put it to you that way.
Even better, right?
So, they went above and beyond.
Above and beyond. And so they ousted him the first time this has ever happened in the history of the House. Look, I guess I could give the generic response, which is the Nelson from The Simpsons, ha ha. But also, on top of that, and we should acknowledge it's also very funny. It's equally hilarious because now, and this is where actually the fun game, I think actually a better aspect of game theory comes in, which is what happens to the Republican Party right now. Right, I've seen. I posted a little a few second video. I was literally running out of the house, and I saw the news. I was like, I gotta let me do one of these TikToks, what the kids are calling a TikTok of some sort. And I just did a quick thing about it. But somebody was like, well, what does this say? The Democrats are going to be screwed because they're going to get a crazier person in here. And it's nah, man. You got to understand, there's a lot more here. This is not as simple as just putting in a crazier Republican. You still have to game out how you get the 200 Republicans who didn't vote for Kevin McCarthy's ousting. How do you get them on board? You can't just put a MAGA nut in there because most of the Republican Party doesn't actually want that. So that to me is going to be an interesting conversation coming up.
It is. I think what we learned from this ultimately is if your political rivals are dead set on self-immolation, absolutely hand them the match. That's a great fucking strategy. To can't lose really when you think about it. This is interesting. I think it will be curious because to your point, I don't know if there's a single candidate out there right now who is able to win the consensus of both the extreme wing of the Republican Party and the moderate wing of the Republican Party that actually wants the job, right, that will be in any better position than Kevin McCarthy was, especially if, again, the MAGA caucus goes along the lines of like, hey, if you want this job, you have to have this poison pill built in where it says that a single member can file a motion to oust you if you do something that we don't like, which will get us back to right where we were. And again, like if that happens again, like if they could time it for like September of next year when they have the motion to go into chaos, I would really appreciate that. That would really be helpful from a timing standpoint. So it will be very interesting. And again, like the Democrats have already come out and said, because they're like, oh, will you work with Republicans on our replacement? They're like, no, like we're going to, like all 210 of us are going to say Hakeem Jefferies every time. And if some Republicans would like to come back to sanity and cast their votes for Hakeem Jefferies, and we can have a sane fucking House of Representatives again and actually work on like legislation that matters and not dumb bullshit like, weird impeachment hearings where our witnesses undermine our case that we call, right, then we'll be happy to do that. But otherwise, go fuck yourselves. Like we're just gonna sit and laugh and watch on the sidelines. And Katie Porter will bring her book out again while we go through 20 House votes to try to figure out a new speaker, and it's gonna be really cool.
Okay, so one, you're bringing up many points, but one that I think is extremely relevant to my trolling at this point, which is, do you think that you're going to beat 15 votes? You think you're going to beat McCarthy's record of 15 votes? I know he didn't have the all-time record, but do you think it beats McCarthy's record? 15 votes?
I don't. I can't imagine that they would be stupid enough to bring a candidate to the floor until they had enough support that they were pretty sure they get across the line. But again, that being said, they just did this shit.
Okay, right. So there are a couple theories here. One is that Republicans are cool with this because no House business can be done until there is a speaker, right? Like you can't do anything. The only vote you can do is who is the Speaker of the House, right? Because the Speaker brings the bills to the floor. So you quite literally can't do anything else. So, secretly Republicans are like into this. These are people who are what I refer to as people so far on the left that they just think that every Republican loss is somehow an actual secretly a Democratic Party loss. Kevin McCarthy just fucking game theory them out of it. Like, no. This is actually a major fuck up, right? Like they just can't admit like Democrats actually won on anything. I get it, but like that's an incredibly simplistic view of politics. And I get if you're disappointed in the Democratic Party, duh. But like sometimes Democrats actually win on things, right? So there's that silly, what I would argue is a very silly theory. The other one is that Republicans, the 200 plus Republicans who didn't want this to happen, will just vote Kevin McCarthy back in.
He already said that he will not run for speaker again.
Oh, well, that theory is fucked. Okay. I never thought that one held much ground in either.
He even said that he's going to think about whether he even wants to stay in Congress after.
Wow. Holy shit. Okay, y'all made him big sad. So that's also a theory. I don't think that one holds much water either, just from the perspective of you still need to get the nutcases on board. Democrats are purposely standing and going, nah, I don't think so. Like you're back to what the situation was when Kevin McCarthy first got in. So what does he have to agree to then in order to get in again, right? Like they're going to be like, we want 2 more pounds of flesh, right? So like that, again, these are theories that to me don't make sense. Like if you pay attention to like, I don't know, actual politics. The other is that Republicans would have to vote in Hakeem Jefferies just to get the House moving, which even the person who wrote that theory is like, that's not going to happen. Like even I don't believe that. I'm just writing shit.
There is one completely outside possibility. If you have like these frontline dudes like that one in Democratic, in basically like I think there's like 20 or 18 districts that Biden won in the election that elected a Republican to the House that are traditionally blue districts. So these guys are like very tenuous in being able to hang on to their seats next election. Right. And if they decided to form a block essentially and was like, you know what, fuck this, like this is stupid, we're gonna fucking vote for, you know, you're like we're gonna just let Hakeem Jefferies and he can deal with his bullshit and we'll make his life hard, but we're showing that we're making the House, you know, try to do business, and so hopefully that'll get us reelected. It won't. I mean, the MAGA crazies that live in those districts will absolutely turn their backs on those people, and they'll get rolled. But that's like the only possibility I feel like for Hakeem Jeffries, to get in there.
Do it, dude. Like that shit would be hilarious. Like we can't even govern. Why don't you guys do it? I mean, that's what they do essentially every time anyway.
Right.
But okay. The other one, this is a dark horse theory. This is my look, I don't think this is going to happen. But I think it's going to be in the running of things that are mentioned in the next day or two with very serious people behind it. The Speaker of the House does not, in fact, have to be an elected official. Donald Trump for Speaker of the House. I guarantee you
he wouldn't do it.
No, I know he wouldn't do it. I don't even think they would vote for him. I don't think he would. No, they'd vote for him. They're fucking crazy. But I honestly think that this will get pushed as a narrative. And here's why. We're going to get into the whole Trump trial and everything else. But here's why I think so. I think they would believe, some of the super crazies, right? These are the super, super crazies, would say, well, if we elect Donald Trump to be the Speaker of the House, well, he can't be at these trials. He's in the Speaker of the House, man. Like, surely we could delay those trials. This is gonna be like a Marjorie Taylor Greene type fucking theory. We'll be able to delay the trials because he's got the people's business, right? I guarantee you this gets pushed. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I guarantee you in the next few days, you will hear people on Fox News quite seriously saying they should elect Donald Trump as Speaker of the House.
Well,
100%.
Unfortunately, there's no Justice Department policy around not taking to trial members of the House of Representatives. So I don't think that would work as well as they hope it would.
Of course not. Of course not.
Yeah, like this dude is one of the laziest people in the world. He already has two jobs. Like he's already running for president, and he's already a professional defendant in criminal cases.
Right.
So like we're gonna add like Speaker of the House to this shit, a job that he wouldn't want to do in the first place.
No, I mean that's like a job you have to like do shit. Like the president. The president, you can like fuck off and like hire.
What would Trump as Speaker look like? That'd be amazing. We are not doing anything until we are voting on articles of impeachment for Joe Biden.
Yeah,
for rigging the 2020 election.
Quite literally,
it was rigged. Everyone knows it, and we will do no bills until the impeachment vote. And if that vote fails, then we will file new articles of impeachment for the laptop from hell, which is also Joe Biden.
I'm telling you, you're going to hear very serious Republicans talking about this. That is 100%. So, gaming this out, what does the Republican Party do next? I don't know, man. Like, I really don't know. I mean, people have floated Steve Scalise as an option, which I don't think is a...
Dude's recovering from fucking... Dude's recovering from cancer right now. I don't really think he wants to...
Look, get in there, Steve.
He wants to do that gig. Here, I mean, there is one other theory.
Jim Jordan?
There is one other theory to this. And I feel like that theory is that Matt Gaetz and his cadre of buffoons just wanted to do this to show that they could. And I feel, and you wonder that now that if they've walked the walk and they've shown that the power that the MAGA caucus can effectively wield in this House, they wouldn't broach this again, right? Like they claimed their scalp, and so they're just like, look what we did, and we're so tough, but that's the last you hear of it. Like they wouldn't do this again to somebody else, ideally.
No, that feels incredibly naive to me. Like that's no way. Like, but that still doesn't solve the problem of who do you put in? Do you put Kevin McCarthy back and be like, see, we were fucking around. Now next time, motherfucker, like, we'll make this shit permanent. Like, I could almost see that type of like weird gamemanship, but it undercuts your power a little bit, right? Like, so you're like a parent with a child. Like, you got to stick to the punishment, right? Like, if you undercut it,
he can't go back. I mean, look how ineffective he was now. Like you can't put like with the sword of Damocles hanging over his head. Like, you can't like oust him and then be like, all right, now you're back in the seat and you better behave this time. Like, no, like, like it would be equally as ridiculous.
So yeah, I don't know. Steve Scalise, again, like, dude's literally coming off a cancer situation. Jim Jordan, people have floated. I don't think they're like, Jim Jordan is seen as a sort of the lover boy of the MAGA caucus, but I don't think he's considered as being particularly serious to like general Republicans.
He is one of the higher ranking folks in the house right now. Isn't there a dress code requirement for speakers? Don't you have to wear a suit coat?
It should be a jacket, right?
To be Speaker of the House.
No, Jim Jordan is a huge fan of Phil Collins and the No Jacket Required album. Like, that's him.
Patrick McHenry is basically
that's not a bad choice.
What is he's the interim speaker right now, basically, because I guess I don't know how he was determined.
Right? Isn't he a pro temp?
Yeah, I don't understand how that's determined, but okay. I guess so. But yeah, so basically, but all he gets to do is preside over the vote to be the next speaker. He's also a big dork and wears a bow tie, which I feel like is disqualifying in some ways.
No, it should be. Being speaker. This guy is not a fucking Nation of Islam representative. Take off that fucking bow tie. There's only 2 times you can wear a bow tie. It's a wedding where the groom is requiring you to look like a fucking dork ass loser and wear a bow tie. Or if you are in the Nation of Islam and you are selling bean pies, Mr. McHenry is neither of those people at this moment. I mean, maybe he's in the Nation of Islam, but I'm pretty sure he's not. Yeah, look, I'm not a fan of their options. Like, I really am not. I guess I would say Steve Scalise. He's enough of a MAGA idiot that I think the MAGA folks would be for him. He's like, look, I got shot and I still think guns are fucking cool, right?
Yeah.
I feel like also him being shot and still repping guns and shit works for the general Republican Party. Like, yeah, he's an idiot like us. Cool. He doesn't learn any personal lessons. So I think Steve Scalise is probably your best option. I guess Jim Jordan would be an interesting one because Jim Jordan is like all about obstructing Democrats. Like, that is his whole thing. And running ridiculous like committee votes and shit like that. And
also covering up sexual assaults. That's also one of his
which
means well that and I'll tell you, that would probably make him that's probably a big plus in the Matt Gaetz column. You know, Matt Gaetz, like, yeah, Jim Jordan, like, that dude makes sure that no one gets punished for committing sexual assault.
I mean, that guy doesn't see anything. Even when he's standing in the shower watching it happen, he's a see no evil type of guy. So yeah, I feel like it's Steve Scalise or Jim Jordan. I think those are my 2 likely picks for the worst person to be Speaker of the House. But at the same time, again, those guys appeal to the crazies, right? They absolutely do. Jim Jordan maybe Scalise and Jordan maybe have a little bit of crossover appeal, but the problem is, do they still keep it? Do they still keep
Scalise is number 2 in House leadership?
Right. No, I understand that. But what I'm saying is, do they still keep in the notion of anybody can bring this motion to vacate? Because if you keep that, no one is safe. Because the whole point of the speakership is you do have to negotiate with Democrats to get shit done. And the second that they step out of line and do that, Matt Gaetz and the rest of his nutballs are going to do this again. Look, I'm going to call this right now. I would be shocked if Kevin McCarthy is the only person to get ousted as speaker before the next election. I would be shocked by it.
But that would be so stupid, though. if they did this again. Like, it does not bode well to make your party look like it's an asylum being run by the inmates, essentially, because that's really what it is when you boil down to it. And I don't understand how the MAGA people wouldn't see that. And maybe they would. Who knows? Like, maybe they're politically savvy enough to realize, like, hey, doing this before an election.
Stop it. No, they're not. No, they're not.
And it's worth pointing out, and I feel like we can kind of skip to this because it kind of moves into the story. The reason that this vote happened is because Kevin McCarthy refused to allow the government to shut down, which was absolutely going to happen.
What an asshole!
Yeah, if he did not intervene and step in. And what's funny is that what was voted on wasn't even a full budget bill. It was just a continuing resolution that kicked the can down the road. And I saw when they posted this, like, hey, we avoided government shutdown. I said, cool. See you in 6 weeks. Like, we're gonna be doing the same thing all over again. Like right. You know, because you didn't solve this. Like, you just you just panicked at the last minute because you knew that you guys were getting all the bad press. Like, you had your members going out there being like, oh, like, it's, you know, shutdowns aren't really the worst thing in the world, right? Like, it's not that bad. Or like the one dude that was like, because they were talking about I can't remember who they were interviewing. They were interviewing some dude on the house, like from the House on the Republican side, and they're like, "Oh, are you gonna not take your salary while the government shut down?" He's like, "Fuck yeah, I'm taking my salary. Like, fuck, I don't have money like that to just not be getting paid while this shit's going on."
I'm a regular guy. I mean, but by the way, the law is they have to get paid during the shutdown, right? Like the one of the stand-ins for press secretary was like, because Kevin McCarthy did the same horseshit, right? He was like, "Oh, I'm not going to take a salary during the shutdown." And she's like, "No, the law is that he actually has to." She's like, he might sock it away, you know, put it in a sock drawer or something, but he has to get paid. Like, that's the law. She's like, "That's theater," which she's correct. And she goes, "The guy who takes out the trash in my office, that guy doesn't get paid. That's real." And it's like, yeah, this is the type of shit I want to hear from Democrats, right? Like, yeah. I will never understand how Republicans don't understand, like, when Trump was president, he goes, "I'm not taking a salary." One, does anyone actually believe that? Like, that guy loves money. Like, he loves money, and he's not nearly as rich as he pretends to be. But, like, not taking a salary, that's theater, man. Like, it's theater. And by the way, there's a reason we pay presidents, because they work for us. Like, there's a reason we pay senators and congressmen is because they work for us. That's the point. When you say, "Well, I'm not going to take a salary," no, that is undercutting the purpose of that. It's not just we pay you just to do a job. We pay you because you work for us. Like, just like your boss pays you, you work for them. That's the whole point of it. But I want to get quickly into the video from Pramila Jayapal when talking about Kevin McCarthy. Okay, so here is a wonderful video of Jayapal talking about this is before the vote happened, right? And she's like, "Listen, they're like, well, you know, what are you gonna do?" You know, they're basically, it's like the classic news perspective, which is, how is this Democrats' fault, right? Like, but it isn't. So here's the video. My girl Pramila is not having any of that bullshit.
Caucus meeting. It was extremely unified. We're standing behind our leader, Hakeem Jefferies. He is the person that should be Speaker of the House, and there is reason after reason to just let Republicans deal with their own problems. I mean, they can let them wallow in their pigsty of incompetence and inability to govern. They are destroying our institution.
But what does that mean? Does that mean voting present? Like, how is this going to play out?
We are not voting in any way that would help save Speaker McCarthy.
So either present or voting against him.
This does impact Democrats in a sense, right? I mean, you guys are trying to fund the government. You're trying to pass the farm bill. You're trying to pass...
Democratic problem. As much as anybody out here might want to make it a Democratic problem, this is not a Democratic problem. This is a Republican problem. They supposedly have the majority. They should be able to pick their own speaker. Our speaker is Hakeem Jefferies. It always has been. It was for 15 rounds. It will continue to be.
So does that mean
here that just nobody trusts Kevin McCarthy?
Nobody trusts Kevin McCarthy. Nobody trusts Kevin McCarthy. And why should we? He has broken his commitment over and over again. And it's not just the deal with President Biden. It's not just the Ukraine funding, which apparently was also a deal, but then it wasn't a deal on, unless we secure the border. It's also going back to January 6th. And I think for a lot of us, we were here. It is still deeply emotional for us because it is about our country. It's about why we came to country.
Yeah. So now it's a perfect response.
Big time Mariah Carey. I don't know her energy when they were like, doesn't this affect Democrats? She's like, this ain't our fucking problem.
Like,
no,
nice
about?
try though. And that's the type of shit that drives me crazy. Is why are you trying to paint this as the Democrats'
right.
problem? It's not their problem, dude.
Well, and her point
today, they were like, "Oh,
yeah," and her point was on target because she's like, "Hey, they supposedly have majority. Like, if they have majority, they should be able to unify on one person to be the speaker."
Yeah,
it's we got no problem doing it.
Yeah, like y'all want Hakeem Jefferies? Like he's right over there. He's right over there. We can get that vote done today, right? Like, so this is what you want to see from Democrats, right? Democrats get a lot of things wrong plenty of times. And they try, but they like royally fuck up. It's like, oh, we have the gun aimed at them. Why don't we shoot ourselves in the face, right? That is often their move. But no, this is it, right? Like you said, when your enemy is trying to light itself on fire, you just hand them the match, man. Like you don't go, whoa, buddy, hold on, no, don't. Are you okay? Let's sit down. No. You're like, would you, Kingsford? Like, what do you want, man? You want lighter fluid? What do you want? And that is exactly the way the Democrats handled it. It was a smart move. Just get out of the way and let them blow themselves up. And it was perfect. Yeah. Like they are not in.
I got to tell you,
save Kevin McCarthy. I love it.
I got to tell you, if I was when we do get to the speaker vote, if I was Mike Lawler or some other frontline Republican that is tired of this bullshit, like on the first vote, I would just me by myself, without just going off script, I would just vote for Jeffries and just watch everyone freak the fuck out, just to troll the shit out of him, just to troll him. I mean, that would be also political suicide because I'm pretty sure that whoever his Republican primary opponent would then be. We just
let's go, baby.
Get a video of that, just replay it over and over again.
Right,
but it would be really funny. It would be really funny.
Look, it's the entire idea of this is incredibly funny for many reasons. But the biggest part is the joke isn't on Kevin McCarthy. The joke is on the entire Republican Party. Mm-hmm. Every time you put these clowns in office and you expect serious work, you will never get it. You will only get a clown show. Like, that is all you're getting. Matt Gaetz is a clown. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a clown. All of these other MAGA morons, they're clowns. What did you expect was going to happen? When Kevin McCarthy signed that agreement that said that you can do, you can call for a motion to vacate, he knew, and look, I think Kevin McCarthy's an asshole, but he's not an idiot, right? He's not a full grade idiot. Bear with me, right? Like, there's definitely an argument to be made.
I think the jury still have on that.
Okay, that's fair. But I think he knew. I mean, all right, that I can't argue too much with that. But I think that he also knew that his time was done. He wasn't going to make it. Like, it is antithetical to the job. Don't ever negotiate with Democrats. Like, but that's
what's funny
their
though.
Job as speaker.
What's funny though? If you had a time machine and you went back to December of last year, so before the speaker vote happened, but after we knew that the Republicans were going to get the House, and you went to Kevin McCarthy and you're like, look, you get to be speaker, but your caucus is gonna oust you in 9 months, and they're gonna do it because you had the gall to work with Democrats to keep the government funded. Like, that's going to be the reason for it. And by the way, those 9 months, they're going to make your life a living hell. and ask you to do all sorts of fucking dumb nonsense. But you get to be speaker, but only for 9 months. Are you sure you still want to do that? Kevin McCarthy, 100% would have still said, yeah, I'll do that. Like, cause I get to be speaker. Like that's really all he fucking wanted is to say that he was Speaker of the House, because it would have felt like a failure if he didn't get that title. He didn't get that trophy at the end of the day. And that's really all he cared about. And that's all he cared about, because he was willing, to your point, to accept ridiculous terms to get him into that seat. Like no serious, like if they went to John Boehner and were like, hey, John Boehner, like you get to be speaker, but like we're going to, like one person, if they get mad at you, can call a motion to vacate the chair in the caucus. John Boehner would have fucking flicked his cigarette in their face and been like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I'm not trying to deal with this. I'm sorry,
could you pour more red wine in this glass?
So like anyone who's serious would have looked at that deal and been like, no fucking way. Like, you gotta be fucking, like, you're gonna make me fucking do this job with one hand tied behind my back, essentially. Exactly. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, and look, I'm glad you brought up Boehner, actually. This all started with Boehner in a lot of ways, right? When the Tea Party started sort of controlling a decent-sized wing of the Republican Party, all of this same shit started, right? Like, the MAGA Party is just a new version. The MAGAs are the neo-Nazis to the Tea Party's Nazis, right? Like, they're just like, we're a new hip version, right? You still suck. You still suck. You're like just a bunch of pieces of shit, but you still suck. You're just wearing different clothes, right? Like, that's all it is. You're wearing t-shirts instead of uniforms. It's no different. And the Tea Party started this bullshit by making John Boehner's life a living hell and being like, you better not negotiate with fucking Democrats. You better just do our bidding and somehow pass things in a government that requires two parties.
Every time you see Obama, you got to give him the middle finger. You got to tell him to go fuck yourself, Obama. Like, every time you see him, you can't say hello. You can't shake his hand. Just fucking punch him in the stomach every time you see him. Like that. Right. Like that's what
the Tea Party wanted. And now the MAGA folks are doing the exact same thing to Kevin McCarthy. The difference, though, is Boehner and then Paul Ryan had the intelligence to go, fuck this, I'm out. Like, they're like, absolutely not.
Paul Ryan was a little different. Paul Ryan didn't look at the insanity in the Republican House caucus and say, fuck this. He looked at Donald Trump and was like, fuck this. Like, I'm tired of dealing with this
But shit. He saw it coming, right? Like, I mean, Donald Trump made Paul Ryan's life a living hell, like, right off the bat, right? And he was like, I don't want to be here anymore, right? And it was smart. It's the exact same thing, is that undercutting of these guys who are the nerds, right? Like, they're, not that Boehner's that much of a nerd, but he was, whatever you thought of Boehner understood how the House worked. I never thought Boehner was particularly like an amazing speaker, but he did understand how it worked. These guys, the Tea Party guys, the MAGA guys, they don't really understand how it works. They just think we shouldn't be negotiating out of pure principle, right? Like, never negotiate, never give up, only ask for what you want, never give 1%, and somehow, through the theory of fucking bullshit, somehow you're going to win. And the problem was, they're working with leadership who knows that doesn't make any sense, and so they would run right into each other every time.
Well, the real problem is not like the reason that the MAGA caucus has power is because Donald Trump is still the head of the Republican Party. Like there's no sane world in which 20 fringe Republican or 20 fringe members of a caucus would be able to dictate terms to the other 180 or 190 members of the caucus. Like, that's not a sane way to run a government. And that didn't happen in the Democratic Party either. Like the the squad or whatever and the progressive wing of the party got to make their voices heard. Right. But at the end of the day, they still voted for the things that leadership needed them to vote for,
right?
In order to run the government.
Right. And they're not political bomb throwers, right? Like they do a little bit of bomb throwing. Like they do. Like God love them, but they do a little bit of bomb throwing. But they're not like, oh, is there a pivotal thing to keep the government open? Blow it up. Like they don't do that. Like that's insane.
Or if there was something that they just couldn't get on board for, then Pelosi would know, all right, I need to go across the aisle to get, 10 or 15 Republicans or whatever. And you guys can still vote how you want to, but we're going to get this legislation passed. And to the progressive side's credit, they didn't go out there and fucking whine and complain and this, that, or the other thing. They're just like, this is how the game is played. Like, we understand that, we 20 can't stand in the way of progress for the other 190. Like it does not work that way.
Well, and look, that goes to a fundamental about politics, right? Which is what I always say, which is political reality versus reality. You can't say, well, we're going to stand on this line and not let this legislation that helps a bunch of poor kids get food because we didn't get this one thing we wanted. However, because that's how Democrats work, right? It's like, look, man, we want this thing. We really need this thing. All right, we can't have it, but we're getting like 80%. All right, like I don't love it, but we got to help these people. Like that's what they do. And people, I think, often forget that. Again, I'm not saying Democrats are fucking perfect at everything. They're not. A lot of times they suck corporate dick too, which I'm not a huge fan of. But for the most part, they are at least trying. Right, they're at least trying. Right, they're trying to balance the difference between like the AOCs who are actually like really trying to help people, and then you got your like corporate Dems who are just like, yeah, but like, could we suck a little bit of corporate dick? Right, like they're like, I really like it. So you gotta like weirdly balance between those things, and the sort of AOC wing realizes that they're trying to keep moving the party left. I got no problem with that, but they're not going to try to destroy legislation that helps a ton of people but isn't perfect. The MAGA people are literally willing to shut the entire government down because they want to fuck over Ukraine. Not because they actually really believe that we need to fuck over Ukraine, but because it's Joe Biden's thing. And it makes Joe Biden look good, that they're actually defending democracy around the world. That is literally it. Like, the government was going to be shut down solely based on the fact that they wanted to have funding for the Ukraine funding. And they took it out. Like McCarthy was like, all right, if you take it out, we'll vote on that separately, but let's keep the government open. And the Democrats agreed to it. Again, Democrats willing to compromise on this thing now to keep the government open, to make sure we don't fuck over people, destroy our, financial ratings and all this other shit. They're willing to do that, even though they vehemently agree on funding Ukraine is an incredibly important thing. It is. But they're not going to destroy everything over that one thing, right? Like, it's a fundamental difference between Democrats and Republicans. So, yeah, man. Republicans are fucked. They're fucked.
I mean, they've been. And again, like, I don't. It is hard. Like, I don't know, man. They just keep fucking stepping on rakes left and right. It's insane. Like how much losing they do from positions where you think that they'd have. And that's the other thing too that blows my mind. It's like the fucking MAGA caucus acts like, okay, say you have your way in MAGA caucus. Say you get to make whoever the Speaker of the House is your puppet to dance on whatever strings you tied them to. You still only control 1/3 of the legislative process,
right?
Regardless. So like you can sit there and bang your head like it's literally the political equivalent of banging your head against a brick wall, because like no matter what crazy shit you do, the Senate's not going to go for it. Even Senate Republicans mostly aren't going to go for it.
No.
And if it somehow makes it past the Senate, the president's not going to sign it. And last I checked, you don't have a veto-proof majority to be able to override that. Brad, so what the fuck are you doing?
Well, Brad, they don't know. Like they don't know. Like that's it. Their answer is like, bro, I don't know. Can you
and a lot of people made the point that like Matt Gaetz specifically is probably doing this for attention, especially as speculation mounts that he wants to run for governor of Florida once Ron DeSantis is done. So, I mean, if Floridians elect him, you deserve what you get. Like that's all I'm saying there.
That's a wild move. That's a wild move to be like, yeah, Matt Gaetz for governor. How? Okay, like you just legalize. He's going to legalize like sleeping with teenagers, right? Like that's his. He's like, nailed it.
I don't think he gets a say in that as the.
But he will, Brad. But he will. But he will.
Pretty sure like the fucking federal district court of Miami would have a thing or two to say about.
I don't know
about
man.
that going on.
It's Florida. I don't know, man. I don't know. They're like, how young was she? I mean, think about it. Matt Gaetz is like, but for real, like we really need to figure out some legislation on this. It's I don't know. I really don't know who they're going to pick. Again, I guess Scalise and Jordan are the top two, but yeah, they're going to run into this again. The only person I honestly think that they will potentially be able to get in there and this won't be a problem for them if they got them in is Jim Jordan. Because Jim Jordan would just be like, stick in the ground. I'm not doing anything with Democrats. And be like, cool, nothing gets done. And then Democrats will run against that in 2024 and be like, look at this asshole. He, one, doesn't wear a jacket. Two, he doesn't do shit.
Yeah, all they're doing is having bullshit hearings about how Joe Biden should be impeached for X, Y, or Z. Like that's all that's happening right now.
Right, with zero fucking evidence. Like that's exactly right.
I know it's not on the docket. I do feel like we do have to at least mention just the incessant dunking that Democrats did on Republicans in that hearing. So again, like Republicans had their first hearing on this. They brought a couple witnesses, and you're like, well, what witnesses did they bring? Didn't even bring fact-finding witnesses. Nope. They brought legal scholars to basically testify to the validity of what they were doing. One of those legal scholars is a guy who is literally the biggest shill in the legal profession that I've ever seen for the Republican Party in Jonathan Turley. And yet, somehow, during these hearings, their own witnesses came out and were like, yeah, currently there doesn't exist enough evidence to warrant an impeachment inquiry into Joe Biden right now. like there's no there as politicians are prone to saying. And Democrats took this opportunity to just fucking shit all over Republicans for their half of the hearing.
I should have gotten that clip. God damn it! What was that?
The Jared Moskowitz clip. Who took all of this?
His was great. What was the black woman who?
Also, yeah.
Really yeah, like the Moskowitz one was real, just fucking hilarious. Hers. Oh, I wish I had that clip. God damn it.
Jasmine Crockett, I think, is the Texas rep who was again stunting all over Republicans. Dude, it was fucking embarrassing.
That was fucking embarrassing for Republicans. Byron Donalds shared a text message exchange as some that he got from some like fucking uncredited like blog website or something or other, and immediately got called out by AOC because the clip of the message that he shared was taken completely out of context and knowingly obfuscated the prior messages that led to the context of that text to make it look more incriminating, and like immediately got called out on that shit and had fucking nothing to say. Apparently, like Republicans couldn't even bother to like stay for the whole hearing. Like apparently, like a shitload of them were leaving, and then they had to scramble to get them back in when they called like procedural votes because all the Democrats stayed the entire time. Of course,
Republicans were like filing in and out because they were just getting embarrassed thoroughly by all the Democratic. households.
Look, are we particularly surprised?
No.
I'm not, right? Because Republicans do this all the time. When we got a hearing, we've got definitive evidence, like, here you go, you better fucking look out, Democrats, you guys are so screwed. And then when push comes to shove, they don't have anything. And then they
here's how bad this was. Steve Bannon, while it was going on, was on his podcast, was like, yeah, maybe you don't bring the witnesses up that tell you that like your case isn't very good, like for the first hearing. Like maybe that's not a good strategy. To which Moskowitz later called that out. Like even Steve Bannon is out here like fucking been like this is bullshit. And then on Fox after the hearing adjourned, they went to Neil Cavuto.
I saw that.
Who is what passes for a serious journalist on Fox.
Yeah, he's
they went to Neil Cavuto, and he literally said, coming out of these hearings, he's like, I don't really know what was accomplished with these 6 hours of hearings today, but they sure happened.
He was like, I was watching this for 6 hours. I left for 1 hour to do my show and came back, and I still didn't see anything. God damn. Look, so here's Representative Jasmine Crockett. I believe the young kids would say she was ethering the Republicans. God bless her. This shit was amazing. Here you go.
As I prepared, I said, what is the crime? Because when you're talking about impeachment, you're talking about high crimes or misdemeanors. And I can't seem to find the crime. And honestly, no one has testified of what crime they believe the president of the United States has committed. But when we start talking about things that look like evidence, they want to act like they blind. They don't know what this is. These are our national secrets. Looks like in the to me. This looks like more evidence of our national secrets, say on a stage at Mar-a-Lago. When we're talking about somebody that's committed high crimes, it's at least indictments. Let's say 32 counts related to unauthorized retention of national security secrets, 7 counts related to obstructing the investigation, 3 false statements, 1 count of conspiracy to defraud the United States, falsifying business records, conspiracy to defraud the United States, 2 counts related to efforts to obstruct the vote certification proceedings, 1 count of conspiracy to violate civil rights, 23 counts related to forgery or false document statements, 8 counts related to soliciting, and I could go on because he's got 91 counts pending right now. But I will tell you what the president has been guilty of. He has unfortunately been guilty of loving his child unconditionally, and that is the only evidence that they have brought forward. And honestly, I hope and pray that my parents love me half as much as he loves his child. Until they find some evidence, we need to get back to the people's work, which means keeping this government open so that people don't go hungry in the streets of the United States. And I will yield.
Look, as the statement goes, stop. I can't get any more erect. My God. I loved it, dude. That was awesome. I love that fury, man. I do. It's not only was she correct on the facts, she brought the anger that it needed. And she didn't pull no punches, man. I love it. Like, that is what gets me fucking excited about politics. That is what I want. That is why voting matters, is to get somebody in there who is just going to be like, stop the bullshit. Here you go. None of that gamesmanship nonsense. This fucking guy has documents literally in the shitter. She said shitter. Yeah. I love it. And he didn't fucking bleep it originally. It was awesome.
And again, like, you got to call a clown show a clown show. Like you can't just sit there and treat it like it's a legitimate proceeding. Like, no, like this is fucking bullshit. I mean, AOC also underscored the point when she had her time, where she went down the line of the witnesses, the so-called witnesses that they had, before the committee, and was like, one by one was like, hey, are you a firsthand or fact witness in this case? No. Are you a firsthand? Do you have any firsthand knowledge of the president, committing high crimes, misdemeanors, and are you a fact witness to this? No. And basically just like underscored the whole fucking point of the hearing was like, you brought people as quote witnesses that don't know fuck all. Like
they didn't witness a goddamn thing. No.
Yeah, like all you brought is like people to speculate, and they couldn't even do that for you. Like they couldn't even fucking do that job for you.
So look, I just want to go back before we get I'm not saying we're in dude I told you territory. Well, we're getting pretty goddamn close. We told you our theory, which is this was going to happen. They were going to bring up this impeachment inquiry. They're going, here's the hearings, baby. It's all coming out. And they weren't going to have anything. And what did I say? And what did Brad say? they're going to scuttle this shit, and they're going to never talk about it. They're never going to have a vote on it. They're going to scuttle it because it's too embarrassing to have a vote and lose. They're just going to be like, don't fucking mention that shit and just move on. Why isn't anyone talking about Steve Scalise as our new House Speaker?
Oh, look, I mean, Steve Scalise could have a built-in excuse. Hey, are we going to vote on the impeachment stuff? He's like, oh, that was Kevin McCarthy's deal. He's like, I don't know nothing about no impeachment, baby. Yep. Like,
I'm telling you, they are going
news to me. News to me.
Who? Kevin who? Like, impeachment? That's crazy, dog. And you know what? That's actually a good point. This is a prime moment for Republicans to say, this was Kevin McCarthy's thing. We're done with the impeachment inquiry. I can totally see that. I'm telling you, scuttle. They're not bringing this shit for a vote. This is embarrassing. If they bring it for a vote, Republicans are not going to vote for it. What are they impeaching him for? Fucking the laptop. What laptop? There's 9 of them. But his son's getting away with it.
None of them were his, by the way. So
yeah, we just threw a bunch of kiddie porn. Where the fuck did we get it?
He's using the Justice Department to protect Democrats, like Bob Menendez, like that Democrat. That's who we're protecting,
right? Or like the Hunter Biden, like he just pleaded not guilty today. Like, what the fuck are we talking about? So, they're gonna scuttle it. They're going to scuttle it, and they're going to pretend like it never happened. When people ask, it's Kevin McCarthy's thing, they're immediately going to blame him, right? Just like there are no Republicans who ever voted for Richard Nixon. Same thing. Like, it's Roger Stone, and that's it, right? Only because he has the tattoo evidence of that shit. So yeah, it's going to be hilarious. But they're getting ready to scuttle this shit. Couple weeks, it's going to be like a little news story. Republicans don't. Anyway, new speaker. Let's go. Like, forget it. So yeah, I think it's hilarious. Next up, Trump has a gag order issued to him after attacking the judge Engoron, Judge Arthur Engoron, in the New York fraud trial. So this is a funny story. This is one of the classic political reality meets, actual reality.
Well, so here's what's actually funny. So we talked last week that this judge basically was given a motion by the state to be like, look, the evidence here is overwhelming. We want you to rule that it is not even there's no doubt, based on the evidence that Trump committed, that the Trump company and Trump himself committed this fraud. Right. We want to move right to the penalty phase. And so we want you to rule on that. And the judge was like, yeah, you're right. like this is over. Like there's no disputing the fact that he is guilty. Let us move on to the penalty hearing, the penalty phase of this, where they actually have hearings to assess like how culpable he is. Legally, I think New York State is looking for $250 million in fines and the disillusionment of his companies in the state of New York, which would basically be the end of the Trump Corporation. So weirdly, for those who don't know, if you're a defendant in a criminal trial, you are required to be present while the trial is going on because you have a right to confront the witnesses against you. However, in a civil trial, there is no such requirement. Like Trump does not have to be there if he doesn't want to be. Right. And yet for some reason, he's decided, I do want to be there for this. Now, it's pretty easy to see why money's involved. So of course he wants to make sure that that the shit is on the up and up. As it turns out, not a good idea because he's unable to keep himself under control. Which has led to the story that we're talking about today. Because basically what's happening is every time there's a fucking break, he's literally going outside the courtroom and talking shit on the judge, on Letitia James, and on the judge's clerk as well, which is what really got him in trouble.
So apparently there was a picture of the judge's law clerk with Chuck Schumer. I don't know if this was, I think it's an old picture, but I don't know what the context of the picture is. I mean, there's nothing like salacious. It's just like a picture of like, hey, there's me and Chuck Schumer, right? Like it's a business photo, right? Trump goes on to social media and he's like, this is Chuck Schumer's girlfriend, like quite literally. This is Chuck Schumer's girlfriend. This is rigged. It's rigged against me. She loves Chuck Schumer, so clearly she's going to hate Trump. Blah, 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 blah. All this fucking bullshit, right? Because it's what Trump does, right? Takes a molehill and makes it into a fucking mountain. He's like, nailed it. They took a picture with a person. I'm like, dude, you have pictures with like many, many corrupt people. Like, is that what we're doing? So he's like, listen. He comes out, he throws all this fucking vomit on Truth Social. The judge sees this, is like, oh, nobody's going to talk shit about my law clerk, because that's basically talking shit on me, right? Like, I picked that person, fuck you, right? And so the judge comes out and is like, listen, to both the state and to Trump, consider this a gag order for everybody about talking about people on my staff, probably him included, obviously. So if you violate that, from my understanding, if you violate this gag order, that's 30 days in jail, potentially. Please, come on. For the love of God, please give that man his phone and let him go to work. Like, because you know he's going to fuck this up. You know he's going to fuck it up, right? So the other aspect of this is, did you read this story? Because it's wonderfully stupid. It's wonderfully stupid.
I had not read the story, but I had heard about it. Just remember that Trump only hires the best people.
The best, no, Brad, that's not fair. That's not fair. The best of the best, Brad. Like that movie.
That's right.
An overrated action movie. So this is a bench trial. A bench trial just means that it is a trial that there's only a judge presiding. The judge is like Judge Dredd, judge, jury, and in fact, executioner in this case, right? Then there are jury trials, right? Fucking 12 Angry Men, here are our thoughts, whatever. Now, this is the federal precedent here is that this would be a jury trial because there's a large sum of money. Even though it's a civil trial, there'd be a large sum of money involved. So it requires a jury. That's what the federal government says. However.
And also worth noting that the Attorney General's office in New York asked for a bench trial.
Yes. So, but the problem here is, before even getting to the what Letitia James asked for, the problem is, in the state of New York, it is they can ask for a bench trial, right? They basically can say, no, we actually want this to be a bench trial. My guess is because a lot of big financial institutions are in New York. We don't want to have a bunch of rigmarole where it's always a jury trial. Some of this shit we can just knock out with bench trials, right? That's my guess. It's different in every state, but that's my guess as to why New York is slightly different, right? And that New York law or that statute or what have you, is in effect, right? So there's no shadiness to it. It's in effect. Now, what Brad is talking about is that Letitia James, the Attorney General, was like, hey, she filled out a form, right? This is what, the big brain legal shit here. She did a big brain, right? She filled out this form that you're supposed to fill out, and she marked no jury needed, right? Just I want a bench trial, right? Trump's lawyers, who also have access to this form, didn't file this form that could have said, hey, I want a jury trial. They just didn't do it. We forgot, bro.
Yeah.
We were out having 3 martini lunches. I don't know. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, Jay, you just said that the precedent is that it would be a bench trial. So what's the point of even doing that? Well, listener,
the point is it gets litigated. That's the point.
You can litigate it, and when Trump went out during one of these breaks and he's like, this is a bench trial and there's not even a jury. How unfair is that? The judge is like, yeah, you didn't ask for it. That's why we didn't litigate it. They could easily have said, all right, you want a jury trial? All right, we'll do a jury trial. They probably would have given it to him because it's better to make sure he has every avenue to not bitch and complain at the outcome. Right? If I'm the judge, I'd probably go, yeah, give this guy a jury trial because I don't want to hear any bullshit that it's me as the judge, it's my fault, or I tried to screw him. I'll leave it up to the public. but they never did the basic due diligence of just asking for a jury trial. They didn't fill out a fucking basic form that said, do you want a bench trial or do you want a jury trial? And they were like, don't worry about it. Like, they didn't even do the work. They didn't even do the fucking basic work.
To be fair, when you have like 20 lawyers and you have like 6 concurrent pieces of court business going on against you simultaneously, I can see where things might get a little confusing. Perhaps.
Lame excuse. I do find it funny though. Like, I do find it funny that a basic form fucked him over. And look, here's the only reason to really mention that the difference between this being a bench trial versus a jury trial. The real reason. Trump is literally pissing off the only person who makes the decision whether this shit fucks him for $250 million. He could tell, like, in a jury trial, not that it's acceptable, but at least you could be like, this judge fucking sucks, blah, 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 whatever. But, like, maybe you appeal to some MAGA assholes who were on the jury, whatever, right? You're trying to, like, work them in the background, something like that. No, dude, it's just a judge. Like, it's just a judge.
There is a there's a theory now floating around that Trump's legal team has just kind of accepted the fact that he's about to lose this case, and they're just hoping that they can appeal it and find an appellate court in New York that's conservative enough that they'll overturn the penalties. It seems like a pretty high risk gamble. I gotta tell you,
it seems like a very high risk gamble. But let's see how it works out for them, because I think that's exactly what they're going to do. I mean, they're not making any attempts at trying to prove anything. And maybe, just maybe, they'll get a jury trial next time. I doubt it, but maybe. Like, I don't know. Like, I can't believe they forgot to fill out that form. That shit is fucking hilarious to me. But best of luck.
Maybe. And is what I'm about to say unfair? I say no, because I've seen this person speak and we've seen their legal acumen. But maybe don't pick your attorneys based on how much you want to fuck them. And you might have a better shot at, having more competent representation.
Brad, look, I want to be mad at you, but like, we all know what the reality is, Like, I saw his lawyer and I was like, he definitely wants to have sex with that woman. Like, he does. Like, he does. And I'm not like, that's not denigrating her at all. Like, it isn't. I don't know her capabilities. I really don't. I'm not saying she's not capable. But I can
I've seen her speak publicly. I will denigrate her capabilities. I don't think she's a very good attorney, based on things that I've heard her say. So.
Right. But all of that being said, and I know clearly what Donald Trump's type is, and Donald Trump was like, hell yeah. Like, I'm hiring her. Like, I saw a picture of her, I was like, oh, he's definitely trying to have sex with this woman. Like, I'm sure he's getting handsy in the plane, like, oh no, we need to like think about this together, right? Like, yes. I could totally see it. But yeah, the second I saw it, I was like, oh, he wants her to iron his pants.
Steam my pants before we go into court, please.
Come on. No, not with the steamer. No, that's not what I meant. Like, I don't hire pants steamers to steam my pants. It's a euphemism.
Give me the what they're calling. I don't know if you've heard. It's the Bobert. Can you give me the Bobert, please? And
give me the old Beetlejuice. Come on. So it's 100%. That's not anything against her, but yeah, 100%. I'm sure that decision came down to, oh, she's fuckable. Like, I guarantee. She'll look hot for the judge, and maybe she'll distract him, and then I can get away with all my fraud, right? Like how I used my daughter as a mechanism for that because I'm a scumbag. Yeah, kind of the same thing. Okay, that's the end of the free portion for this week's episode of Look Forward. Make sure you go to lookforwardshow.com/premium. Sign up for premium content. It's only $5 a month or $50 for the full year.